Hi, this is Rocky from SeriouScholar.com, and in this video I'm going to share with you some strategies for getting through a document with a lot of track changes and comments as efficiently and hopefully painlessly as possible. If you have experience with track changes and comments, I still recommend that you give this a listen, as there's a couple things that other authors have shared with me that should hopefully be helpful for you too. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the controls, but I will do a really quick brief overview for just in case you're new to them. Before I get started, to the version that you're seeing on the screen of Word is Word 2010 for PC. Controls are pretty similar for Word 2007 for PC and Word 2011 for Mac. Previous versions for Mac and PC tend to be a little cumbersome with track changes because the controls are in the menu, so you may want to use another computer or upgrade if you have that on your computer. So jumping right in, the first thing to know is that your changes are probably in the Review tab. I think on a Mac there might be a different name for that, revisions or something, I can't remember. But here you have your comment controls. You can jump back and forth to previous comments. You can delete comments and you can add comments. When you add comments, you want to select some text, whatever it is that your comment refers to, and that's what me as an editor and what this means. For example, if I highlighted this, that means that my comment refers to just this highlighted part. So that's what you can do as well with your correspondence. These are your views, final showing markup, or original if you want to see your original text to refresh your memory. That's usually helpful. But as you notice, it's hard to figure out what happens there. So I recommend that you highlight with the mouse whatever area it is that you have a question about. Then click original and you can quickly see it, refresh your memory, and then go back. You never want to make changes in this area here because you're actually not looking at what's really there. So that's just sort of a memory view for you. Go back to final showing markup. Turn your track changes on or off as you prefer. You could do it either way as an author at this point. I usually recommend that you just leave track changes on because you can always accept them later. And as you accept these changes, the document will still clean up anyway. But if you turn it off, this is off right now. If it's orange selected, then it's on. If you turn it off, then that's fine too. As an author, just make sure you highlight any changes that you want the editor or co-authors to look at. You can change your track changes options by going into this option thing here. I recommend just leaving the default settings. As an editor, I usually hide the deletions because it makes this easier to read, and I make more accurate suggestions for you that way. I have the luxury of being able to do that, but as an author, you really do need to see everything that I suggested or that your editor suggested to delete or change. So you should leave those. Usually strike through sets it off from the other text. Make sure you leave your by author for color, because for example, if you add something here, you want it to come up in another color so that it doesn't blend in. That way the editor or co-authors can look at it. Now, how to deal with this, I think from what I've heard from other authors and what I think I would do, I think the best approach is probably to go sentence by sentence. What I mean by that is put your cursor at the beginning, start to hit accept until you get to the end of the sentence. Because it's really hard to read this mess. So here we have this sentence which is complete and it's clean, and again, if you wanted to refresh your memory, you could go to original and see what it was. But I would read through it. If it looks like there's no problems or anything and the meaning is how you want it, move forward. And hopefully that'll be the case most of the time. Go to the next sentence and go through. And the benefit of doing this is that you can concentrate one at a time, see what's needed to change it, and if you add any text here, excuse me, it'll show up for your editor co-authors, and it'll show up in a different color, but I'm on the same computer where I made the edit, so that's why it's still in blue. But this will be a nice clean text for everybody to deal with, and that's basically your goal at this point moving forward. A nifty little trick is that if you wanted to move a little bit faster, maybe you've worked with your editor a lot and have a lot of confidence, and you want to go paragraph by paragraph, you could put the cursor at the beginning of a word that's a track change. It has to be exactly at the beginning of any track change and down to the end of any track change. So with the last one in the paragraph, right click or control click or command click if you're on a Mac, whatever it is, and hit accept change. It'll accept all of those and they accept it in the selected range. Or of course you can accept change here. If you ever make a mistake and you want to go back, just hit Control Z or go to the Home tab and click or actually up top here, it's this little back arrow. So that's probably the fastest way to go through. Now, my most important suggestion, I think, is how to deal with areas that are not exactly how you want them. So for maybe your editor went through and you're accepting, what's pretty common in my experience, 95 to 98% of the editor's suggestions, and then you're making small modifications to the rest. The problem that authors sometimes run into is just when they hit the reject button. Now, what editors should be doing, and what most of us do, is to make every single change for a very calculated, thoughtful reason and a defensible reason. So it could be a style guideline, APA or Chicago or something like that, or it could be a publisher guideline or an author guideline. So if you just hit reject, where's an example here? I had one before. Oh, here it is. If the author, for example, were to reject these couple changes here, we'd automatically have a couple problems. We'd have a basic grammatical problem, and because this is a scholarly document, and conciseness and clarity and specificity are so important. Sorry, not conciseness, clarity and specificity are so important here. We always want to say this something or that something, not just this, because this makes the reader stop and clarify the meaning, and a lot of times there's some ambiguity with that anyway. So the author would have two problems there, but if you take what I call an accept modify approach as opposed to an accept reject approach, that means you're accepting everything, and then when it's problematic or you know that there's an error or whatever, because of course you have more expertise than the editor and more knowledge in the area, then just change it. So maybe if the author realized we can't use the word approach because in the literature they only use the word strategy for this or whatever, and of course just making that up, then go ahead and of course use your best judgment throughout, but really usually very rarely is it a good idea to just simply reject things without making some other change to address the underlying issue. And if you're not sure, then make a quick comment, highlight it, make a comment, ask a question. That moves me into using the comments. Your job as the author, one, for these track changes is to clean up the document as much as possible. So if you're accepting and modifying everything, by the time you get to the end of the document, it'll be a super clean document with just your added text showing, which is great. That lets the editor do the final scan very efficiently and get your document back more quickly and do a better job. So it's in both of your interests. Same thing with the comments. They were put there to help you out for your benefit. So please read through them, address whatever needs to be addressed, and then delete almost all of them. Address every single one. Delete. If you can delete 98 to maybe 97, 98% of the comments, that's great. Right-click it and delete it, or go up here and click delete in the menu. Now there will be some where you have to give a little more clarity to the editor or co-author, or converse dialogue with the editor and co-author. That's great. But the only thing is, if you, for example, in another document I had, and my author here did a very nice thing and put references to the comment numbers in his comments to me. But the problem is, as you delete these comment bubbles, the numbers change. So actually, although that was really, really thoughtful of him, it didn't help, because once the comment numbers change, you can't figure it out. So better thing to do is to just insert a line, put your initials, put your comment or question, and then just bold it or put some I don't know, purple usually works. It shows up on every background color, but this background color has changed, so pick a color that you can actually read, or just bold it, should be fine. And then delete almost everything. So by leaving a comment in here, you're telling the editor that there's an issue that still needs to be addressed, and by deleting them, you've resolved it, or there's some new tracked text in here the editor knows that that he or she should look at. So I hope that this was helpful for you, and remember that you and your editors and your co-authors all have the goal of getting you to the finish line. So at this point, if you can go through and clean up your document as much as possible, good luck with your revisions. And if you're working with me, then I look forward to our next correspondence so we can get you to the finish line. And if you have any questions, regardless of whether you're working with me on this about track changes or anything else on the site, please feel free to contact me. Thanks and good luck.